What's up, everyone? This is Big Poner. Today I'm here to do a guide for my new Lacer-Assassin. It is an assassin trickster that is using the main skill Laceration. I did a demonstration video of it in its early stages, I believe my second day playing it, I think less than 24 hours after starting it. Um, but this is going to be more of a finished version of it. I'm going to talk about it, but we're going to go ahead and jump into it. We've got this map, lots of extra life, physical damage reduction, which part of the damage that we're going to be dealing is physical damage. And they have reduced extra damage from critical strikes, so they're going to have a lot of my damage mitigated, um, and some other stuff in there. The hexproof is going to be another big nerf because obviously we can't apply the assassin's mark if there has hexproof. So that's another huge damage debuff. Um, but it is still going to absolutely shred, especially once we get our stacks. I don't want nothing to do with that massive cluster. Man, this is a long path. Have to travel back up and down this line. No stack decks left behind. Gotta always take the Parandus coins just in case you get that lucky mirror and from Parandus. I have gotten an exalt. I've never gotten a mirror from him. It'd be sweet, but I have gotten an exalt and a few other good things. It's always nice to have those coins. And yes, I do not even have all of my gems fully leveled. There's been a lot of changing around on the build and adjusting stuff, but currently the build is at 15,200,000 DPS, so it still has a lot of DPS. Kind of the direction I decided to take it in was a kind of boss killer build. So a combination of high DPS and a lot of survivability. What it's in right now, I would say, would be the more defensive version of the build, because there's two really good options as far as your body armor. What I'm wearing is a perfect form Zodiac armor, and the reason why I'm using that is because it gives 100% reduction to ice armor reservation. It also gives us percentage increase to dexterity, which we are using Fractal Thoughts as our mask, which is really cheap. So that's one item in the build that's cheap. There's a few of them. Most of them are going to have to be crafted, or if you choose a perfect form, that's not what I would call cheap. Not the most expensive, but definitely not cheap. The other option for the body armor would be a crafted evasion base with of the elder type with a oh yeah, let's make this fun. So kind of sitting up against him, not obviously not required. I could have sat at a long distance. The whole reason why I was doing that, kind of playing close to him, is to demonstrate that the build is really tanky. It is not just a glass assassin. I did get hit. Actually, I got hit a few times, and it, didn't even get me close to dying. The reason why is because we have massive damage reduction um, in several forms. Obviously, we have our resistances done well. We have the ice armor, which is giving us more damage reduction there, both and um, physical and less fire damage taken from hits. Um, so there's damage reduction there. Obviously, you can see I'm like playing up against stuff, getting hit, or around stuff and not getting hit. The reason why is because we have the reason why that small amount of HP works so well is because, first of all, with the lines we're up, we've got 31% physical damage reduction. On top of that, for physical damage reduction, we have 13% less physical damage taken from hits. As far as evasion, our evasion's at 51%. We also have 40% chance to dodge spells. We also have 21% chance to block attack damage, and then of course we have our resistances capped. And if you can, more cold resistances is going to exponentially increase your evasion because we have the perfect form Zodiac, which increases evasion based on the uncapped cold resistance. So if you can get more cold resistance into the build, it's actually really good for the build. So now we will go over the basic stuff. We have obviously all of these auras running. Unlike with the Frostblades Raider, you do have to have a level 4 Enlighten if you are going to still be able to proc your defensive skills, which is where we get more damage reduction because we are running the Immortal Call, which is giving us 34% less elemental damage taken, 35% less physical damage taken. So now we have our 31% reduced damage, we have 13% less physical damage, and we have another, why am I missing it? Another 35%, so we have 48% less physical damage taken, and then another 31% on top of that. So we have massive damage reduction, and that's kind of the reason why having low life is not a big deal, because our effectual, when our damage reduction for physical is at like 80% reduction, I think it's 81% reduction, our effective life at 4,336 is 5 times that. So we're at 21,500 effective HP against physical damage. And then on top of that, you take into account that we're dodging 51% of the attacks. It becomes a very tanky build. On top of that, we also have the elemental reduction. We have slightly overcapped resistances on the cold and fire. We got 1 extra percent. You'll see why we picked that up. And then on top of that, if you go with the perfect form, you also have less fire damage taken. We got another 12% less fire damage taken. So obviously it becomes a very tanky build even at the low life. There are places that you could tie in more HP. I don't have the best HP rolls on like this. You could do a fossil craft version and you could get a lot more HP on it, so you could boost the HP that way. You could also get more HP on the boots. I've got tier 1, but if you were to fossil craft and get a high tier with the percentage life, with the bonus life, you could have way more HP. You could have like 110, 20, 40, 100 and 129 HP with 3% increased life there. So there's definitely more life you could pick up. Um, I've got tier 1 on my belt, so that's pretty good. I don't have the best life boost here. I also have a lot of jewels that are not HP jewels, which is just something that I didn't target. I've got one that's HP. This is obviously my watchers. Then we have the intuitive leap here, but only one of them are 1 out of 3 of my non gold jewels are HP, so I could tie in another 14% HP there. Essentially, I could pick up another 1% here, so I could get another 15% HP just in jewels if I were to target that. That would be a pretty big increase, but it's not really needed. The reason why is because even in Uber Elder, I haven't been able to be one-shotted. I've tested dying with the different moves, and it the ice shards don't kill you, the orbs don't kill you. The only things that will one-shot you are the things that you kind of expect to one-shot you, which would be the charge blast. So if you sit outside of the circle and that charge blast hits you, that can one-shot you. Obviously, you have a large chance to dodge that. So even if you're not inside of that circle, you have like, a 1 in 2 chance of not dying anyways, because you might just completely avoid the damage. Um, but obviously, knowing that it can one-shot, you probably don't want to. You probably want to prioritize not getting hit by that. The other thing is that can one-shot you is the Shaper's jump attack. But even Minotaur with extra critical multiplier and extra elemental damage can't one-shot me. So it is a very, very tanky build. Um, very, very effectual tanky build. It doesn't look like it, but it is. And it also still has a massive amount of damage. This is a level 100 build, so the thing that I would say about the tree is you're going to have to cut some stuff off. The thing that I would say would be the easiest thing to do is you could shave off all of this section all the way up here. You would have one less jewel. You would then add in 1, 2, 3, 4 points here, which would give you 6 points off. That would make this a level 94 build. That would be the easiest thing to do. It would not affect your damage at all outside of just losing this jewel here, but it would still give you 1, 2, I believe 3 jewel slots to kind of fill in whatever it is that you want. Obviously, a good Watcher's Eye would be something good. I've got a pretty good one. I've got the critical strike multiplier on mine. It's not like some god tier Watcher's Eye. You could probably pick one of these up for like a couple of exalts. Um, it, there's obviously a lot better ones you could get if you were able to get something with like dual stats, like extra attack speed and crit multiplier or something like that. But that's like 20, 30 exalts. Not something I'm willing. I could afford it, but I'm not willing to. Lethal Pride right here is an excellent option because we get 7 notables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 4, 5. All right, we get 6 notables here, which is quite a bit. I pick up some nice stuff: extra regen, intimidation, uh, good stuff to go through. But if you go this way, you'll also pick up a little bit extra, um, strength. If you go with this route instead of a level 100 build. The things that I absolutely would say do not touch, and once you do get over those points, would be to go ahead and fill in this point here. This is 1 point that if I had one more point, I would fill in. The things that you absolutely have to have for this build to work are all the crit nodes. Jewels are kind of optional. This life resistance here is kind of optional. I wouldn't skip this. This is one of the largest damage nodes. This is one of the largest damage nodes. This is one of the largest damage nodes. This is a really big damage nodes. None of these things do you want to skip. This is optional, but it's your attack range area of effect. I wouldn't skip it, but I mean, if you're trying to skip something, that could be something you skip early. Uh, this right here, absolutely can't skip this. I think this being removed removes something like 15%, a little bit, 15, 16% of your effectual damage. This you definitely don't want to miss either. The reason why, this gives a lot of damage, and it also gives us a 10% chance to freeze, shock, and ignite. Remember that you're not going to see the damage, all the damage from this, because 10%, you have a 10% chance to shock, which even if you don't have electric damage, the minimum value for shock is 20%. So up to 50% if you had more elemental damage, which you can use any elemental damage for this build, which is a cool thing. So for instance, if you were to get a weapon like this that has electricity damage, that could actually increase the effect of your shock. It wouldn't be something that I would prioritize. I would just focus on getting a good weapon. The reason why elemental and physical damage are what we're going to target is kind of the reason why this build works so well. We have this right here. This is just a massive damage increase. Obviously, 25% chance to gain 25% of non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage. This means any damage we're doing, we gain as chaos damage. And we have 15% for 50% non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage. 5% chance for 100%. The other cool thing is this ties in perfectly to our starting point, because what do we have? We have chaos damage with physical damage, chaos damage with physical damage, chaos damage with physical damage. We have 10, 20, 30, 42, 56% increased chaos damage when we're already gaining physical damage on all of these spots, which don't go down here because this actually in the build will give you less damage. We're going to pick up attack speed in other places. This is going to be the exact path that you're going to want to follow. You could um, you could go this way. You would wind up losing 1 point, so you'd have to take it somewhere else, and these nodes really aren't that great, but you would pick up extra evasion. So if early you're having problems with HP, I mean, that could be a different direction for you to go. You could go this way, but you're going to lose out on some damage. You're going to lose out on some area of effect. Early, you could just fill these in if you're not able to reach something. But I would definitely follow this path. I've done a lot of path of building testing. The one thing that you do have to note is if you don't go with the perfect form Zodiac, the other best option for that is a crafted chest or really lucky rolled chest. Is going to be a evasion base. You have to use the Elder. It has to be an 85. You're going to be looking for the tier 1 critical strike chance. This will actually give me a lot of damage if I were to swap this on. The reason why is because it would make my effectual crit chance with everything else that I have equipped almost 100%. This would be a massive damage boost for me right now. Like I've already explained, I've chosen the more tanky option because I'm going to be farming Uber Elder. Uh, if you choose to go with that and you want more damage, the other option that you have to go with is you're going to have to go this way and you're going to have to pick up these 5 points so that you still have that really high defensive capability. The main loss that the main trade-off is you get more damage. You're going to have more evade, but you're going to have less damage reduction because 50% of your armor is going to be reduced, which means when you're using your Lion's Roar, it's only going to be half of that armor, and then you're also going to be losing the ice armor. So you're going to lose quite a bit of physical damage reduction, but you're not going to get hit as much because you will have more evade. So it's kind of whichever way that you want to go. The thing that I will say about either one of these is you need 4 red sockets and 2 green sockets. So this is not an easy thing to do. The way that I've done this with all of mine is by taking and 3 green socketing, 3 red socketing. If you get lucky and you hit 4 and 2, then sweet, like you're done. But that's really, really hard. The easiest way to do this is to get it to 3 and 3, which you can guarantee. You can guarantee the 3 red. I would make sure that you have only red and green when you do this, and then you are going to want to use Jun. You're going to want to get Verici into research. It has to be in research. You're going to want to get him to max level, 3 stars. Then you complete the safe house with him in it at 3 stars, and then it will give you a white sockets. So you will get 1 to 3 white sockets, and if he's in the leading position, you get 2 tries. So the thing is this takes a little bit of effort to do, and a little bit of luck, because he has to pop up, and you have to be able to get him into research. So it does take a little bit of effort, so you want to be prepared for when you do it. you're going to want to have extra chrome orbs. And the reason why is because if you leave your home base, you lose your syndicate. So you need enough chrome orbs that if the first time you roll it you miss, you're going to have to re-chrome it to 3 and 3, which means you have to already have the chrome orbs. So I would have a stockpile of extra chrome orbs so that you don't wind up losing one of your white roll chances, because with two roll chances, you only have to hit one of your green ones if it's 3 and 3. Your probability of hitting it with two chances is extremely high. Like I haven't I haven't been unfortunate enough to miss it on both tries, which is saying a lot because I have horrible luck with stuff like this. So just make sure you have enough chrome orbs. It costs 120 to guarantee 3 reds. I would say probably have like 500 extra, which I mean you can either save them up or you can buy them. They're like 1 to 8 chaos, so that's not the biggest investment, and obviously you can use them for something else in the future. But just so that you don't have to refarm it, I would suggest doing that. Then you're gonna hit it till you get your 4 and 4. This is going to be a lot cheaper than trying to just spam it. I have spammed. I know people who have spammed it, and it was an absolute nightmare for them. So this is being included in my suggestions. As far as gear itemization, we've talked about the tree. I'm going to give the link so you'll know where to go. I've given you the option to make it a lower level build. Now we're going to talk about the gear. Um, these 3 slots are going to be where you're going to have to pick up your resistances. Um, you're going to want as much cold resistance as you can get if you're going to use the perfect form Zodiac, because you gain more evasion based on uncapped cold resistance, so the higher the better. Um, but you're going to want to just basically make sure that your resistances are good. If you're having trouble getting your resistances good, you can use your extra jewel slots to fix those resistances. I've got mine a little bit over capped. I like to have them up above 80 so that if I have a negative resistance map, I'm still above my 75%. This is about perfect except on my lightning. My lightning was going to be like 73% in one of those maps. But that's the way that I would do it. That'll make that easier for you. Ideally, I would want to have the cannot be frozen, because then I don't have to worry about being frozen, and then you don't have to use something with cannot be frozen on it. Um, as far as the fractal thoughts, this is an insanely good mask. The way that it's going to work out for you, intelligence is going to be the lowest, evasion is going to be the highest, which means you're going to gain all of the bonuses, which makes this really strong. Which makes this even stronger is our ascendancy choices. It works perfectly with it. Why? Because it has evasion and energy shield, and escape artist gives us 5 more evasion for every 1 energy shield. So this is giving us not only a ton of damage, but it's also giving us over 1,000 evasion. That's absolutely huge. So this mask was like made for this build. This is what I would go for. The other side of this is you gain 1 max energy shield for every 6 evasion. It's not really that big of that big of a bonus. When you're actually fighting, when you kill stuff, you're or lose ghost shrouds, your energy shield skyrockets up. You have a short period where you're gonna have a boosted 10% dodge chance. So that's kind of nice. If you're constantly in combat, it does that for you. Obviously, we get even more attack speed here, up to 18% for our ghost shrouds. This is an awesome dual damage and survivability. I would not skip on this. Here we go. Inc- Recover the shield. Um, Increase movement speed while you have energy shield. So Weave of the Arcane. This is kind of what makes our build work with all of these auras and having hardly no mana. Uh, it gives us a chance to have our basically more than all of our mana regenerated on using a skill. So we have mana leech, and on top of this we have free movement speed. So when we use a skill, we have a chance to gain mana back, which means spamming our movement is repositioning us, and it's obviously free, so we don't ever have to worry about running out of mana from that, but it also procs mana regeneration for us. So on top of that, every time we attack, we have a chance to proc mana regeneration. If you're in a no regen map, you can just spam and you run out of mana, you can just spam your jump ability because it's free and it will regen your mana. Also boosts up your mana, so it makes it so that having a super low reserve still gives us enough mana to be able to attack and still have leftover mana. And obviously more mana regeneration, just all of this stuff. And on top of that, it also gives us more damage. Why? Because if you use a movement skill, you get 20% increased attack speed. That's a huge bonus. This is an absolutely awesome cluster. And then obviously we've already explained this. This is an absolutely huge damage boost. Um, Going back to gear, foils. Absolutely something like this is ideal. You want really high attack speed. You want high physical damage. If you can get just the physical damage one, that's great. If you can get one that also has something like this is something that's ideal. This is a 620 DPS foil, and it has 356 physical damage, 264 elemental damage. All of our damage is scaling that elemental damage, and all of our damage is going to turn into chaos damage when these proc. So it kind of doesn't matter. The reason why we do want to have high physical damage is for physical damage leeches life, and also for physical damage is converted to extra damage. So you don't want to go full elemental, but if you can get a high tier roll with having a high physical damage, that's ideal. Obviously, that's extremely hard to do. This is another really good one. This is 410 DPS. Um, it's higher physical damage, but its overall effect to the build is lower, but it's still really good. The nice thing is you can probably pick up a really good foil in this range for a couple exalts, because since you're not shooting for like an insane only physical DPS, you can get something with really high DPS that still has a respectable physical DPS and is still going to give you a ton of damage for not some crazy amount. Um, so, I mean, if you're trying to min-max and you want to try and craft something like this, obviously you're going to alt spam till you hit 2 good mods. If you hit one thing really good, something bad, you're going to annul, then you're going to alt it again. Then when you have 2, you're going to probably imprint if you have 2 really good things, and then you're going to regal it. And then from there, if you hit something good, obviously you're going to craft. If you don't, you're going to choose to annul and try to go for the 2 slots, or you can suffixes or prefixes cannot be changed, and then scour, or however you want to go about crafting. I can do some crafting videos later to go over some more options. But weapons, obviously, the better they are, the more damage you're going to do. As far as necklace, you're going to be looking for a critical strike chance, critical strike multiplier. The one mod that I always like to put on these, I like to have the 2 open prefixes because I want the increased melee damage with melee weapon range dual mod, and then I also want the increased damage while leeching because that's just a really big damage multiplier. If I were to have gotten something like extra physical, like gain cold damage is extra physical damage, any type of elemental modifier like that, that would be perfectly great too. Physical damage, really high cold damage, I wouldn't craft that, but if I hit it on there and it was a really good roll, that would be something to keep. Those are the things you're going to want to look for. Assassin's Mark, obviously, multi-modded, crit chance, crit multiplier. Obviously, the Shattered is going to be one of the best dual mods for the suffixes because it gives you both global critical strike chance and global critical strike multiplier. Um, I've got the non-channeling -9 skills. It's just nice. It's from my Frostblade build. Mark of the Elder. This is going to be something cheap to get. Prioritize the unique modifiers, not the implicit modifier. The implicit modifier you can bless until it's perfect. The things that you're going to care about are the max life, the cold damage to attacks, and the increased attack damage. So buy one that has those 3 stats good, which will make it cheaper for you to get a good one for you. Ignore the maximum energy shield. It's better if it's bad because then it's probably going to be cheaper. And then you can blessed orb the implicit for next to nothing, and you have a monster ring for relatively cheap. Um, Other than that, there's one other modifier. If you want to go tankier, you can switch to roomies, which is going to give you more block chance, because we do have block chance, um, which is just going to make you even tankier. So if you think you're not tanky enough, you can switch out the Lion's Roar, and then your 21% chance to block becomes 37. 16% more block chance, bam, like that. And you still got the armor for the damage reduction. That's pretty much the options. Um, as far as flasks, once again, we've got critical strike chances lucky with crafted on critical strike chance during flask effect, because we want to get our effective critical strike chance as close to 100. Using Sin's Rebirth for the Unholy Might, you could swap this out. The other advantage to it, though, is when I use this, I gain more evasion. I'm at effective 57%, extra 6% chance. That's pretty nice. Gives me more evade. I pretty much always run a life flask, immunity to bleed. Bleed sucks. Um, at Series Promise is another really big one. The reason why is because it converts our physical and our elemental damage to chaos as extra, and it makes it so that we're leeching 2% of our chaos damage as life, which, what does our ascendancy do? It turns all of our damage into chaos damage, and then we're going to be leeching from that, which is awesome, because that's going to be a ton of life leech. So definitely going to want to go for the ad series. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy this. This is not the easiest build. I'll be honest about this. Making this chest is a little bit of a pain. You won't be able to find one to buy, most likely. And if you do, the person's probably going to charge you a lot, because it does take a little bit of effort to make. Um, but this is a really fun build. It's really tanky. It's viable for boss farming and for mapping. Um, I hope you guys enjoy this. I will say, it's if you're looking for something like the Frostblade Raider that's going to be just a super smooth play, this is not going to be as smooth, and the reason why is because takes it takes more effort, first of all, to play. There's more stuff to pay attention to. The attacks don't just wrap around. It still has really high mobility and stuff like that, and I would say the defensive capabilities of it is probably going to be higher the than than the Frostblade build, just because there's so much more damage reduction and stuff. But once again, it's also a more expensive build, because to mimic this, you need a level 4 Enlightened support. With the Frostblade Raider, you were able to pick it up on a shield. Um, so I would say this one's going to take more effort to build, but the end product is going to be better for bossing, but it's going to be a little bit harder as far as clearing, just because if you have obstacles in your way, the attacks aren't going to wrap around. So going into this build, I wouldn't say this is the easiest build. It is a lot of fun, and it's insanely strong once you get everything set up and working. Um, but if you're playing the Frostblade build and you're expecting to like sell your gear and just jump right into this and it to be as effortless as the Raider, then maybe consider whether you really want to do this build, because it is going to take you effort to get this build working, because you're going to have to do things like link your chest and either roll or spend a bunch of time searching for viable weapons. A lot of the stuff besides the chest is pretty easy to get. Um, and a base Zodiac, if you link it yourself, shouldn't be that expensive. But I'm just giving that warning. It's a little bit more effort to jump into. I honestly can't give you advice as far as leveling, um, like from personal experience, because I didn't level this as a lacerate build. Um, You can obviously use the same weapons that I offered for leveling. You can obviously use the same items that I offered in the Frostblade build because it is another sword-based build. But I can't give you experience from leveling it as a Lacerate build because I didn't level it as Lacerate build. I got it to level 100 as an Essence Drain Contagion, and I finally re-rolled it because I just wasn't playing my Essence Drain Contagion anymore. Um, so I wanted to give that disclaimer. But if you get it to a finish point, it's a ton of fun and it's really, really, really strong. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching.